Hi, mystery writers. I'm Zara Altair. This is Write a Killer Mystery, where we learn to make a good mystery great. And today I want to talk about getting to know your author's voice. It's how you connect with your reader. First, I want to thank my patrons on Patreon for their continued support that help bring these videos to you and support my mystery writing. And if you'd like to become a patron, there's a link in the description below. Okay, get to know your author voice. Your author voice are all the words that make your reader feel. It connects your reader to your story through vocabulary, syntax, tone, and point of view. And that's what makes your phrases and sentences and paragraphs flow. So your author voice comes through to the reader through either third-person narration or first-person point of view. But all of those elements come together. So when you put that all together, your author voice is instrumental in how your reader feels as they experience your novel. Voice is like the icing on the cake of your characters and your plot. And if you've ever experienced a child or a spouse wait eagerly to lick the beaters after you've mixed icing, you know how enticing icing can be. Voice is how you tell the story. So, novelist Raymond Chandler said, "The most durable thing in writing is style. And style is the most valuable investment a writer can make with his time." So, hard, soft, smooth, edgy, your style is your method of communicating with your reader. So, voice comes through that syntax and tone and vocabulary, and also with recurrent themes and mood and worldview. When a reader picks up your book, especially if it's second, third, fourth, fifth going on book, they know how they're going to feel while they read your book, and it's part of what keeps readers involved with authors. So, for example, Raymond Chandler books embody a hard-boiled view of the world and people, while the syntax is brisk and telling. So let's look at a chapter from The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. It was about 11 o'clock in the morning, mid-October, with the sun not shining and a look of hard, wet rain in the clearness of the foothills. I was wearing my powder blue suit with dark blue shirt, tie, and display handkerchief, black brogues, black wool socks with dark blue clocks on them. I was neat, clean, shaved, and sober, and I didn't care who knew it. It was everything the well-dressed private detective ought to be. I was calling on $4 million. So I know you get a sense of that voice. That's just the very first paragraph of chapter 1 in The Big Sleep. And so here's something from the very first paragraph from Anne Cleeves' Wildfire. And her stories delve into the hearts and minds of characters and also have a very strong sense of place. So let's look at this paragraph. Emma sat on the shingle bank and watched the kids on the beach below build a bonfire. They dragged pieces of driftwood into a pile. It was something to do to relieve their boredom. Nothing much happened in Delta Ness. It was too far from Lerwick for an easy night out, and the buses stopped long before the bars closed. The night was clear and still, and the light drained slowly away. In another month it would be midsummer. Emma was there because she was bored too. When she was a child, she longed for boredom, for quiet, normal days free from tension, school and homework and meals with the family that didn't end in anger, shouting, or worse. Now, she thought, she'd inherited a need for excitement, a longing to fill her days with action and challenge, to provoke a response from the people in her life, a need to make things happen. So those are two first paragraphs with completely different author voices. If you read in the mystery genre, you know the author voice comes in a wide variety, and what's important for you as a writer is developing your author voice. So once a reader experiences your author voice and likes it, they are predisposed to like your next book, and the one after that, and the one after that. They may not know about author voice, but they'll say something like, "I like the way he tells the story," or "I enjoy reading her books," without being able to say why. And when you're just starting out as a writer, it's hard to know what your voice is or how to improve your author voice, how to make it stronger, how to make it more you. So let's look at 3 different ways you can tackle your author voice, review it, and learn about it, and see where you want to make it stronger. First is consistent narrative voice. So you choose your narrative point of view and stick with it. And whether it's third person or first person point of view, you keep writing in that point of view as you master how to supply details and share what's in a character's head. Experienced authors can switch back and forth between points of view, but as a beginner, I strongly recommend that you learn to master one. Okay, and number 2 is choose your language form. Decide whether you want to use formal language or more colloquial patterns. Will you always be grammatically correct? Will you use local or regional expressions? Will you go in and out of your characters' heads? So adopt a policy about your word choice so your language remains consistent through your story. Of course, this doesn't include character dialogue where the characters are going to speak in their voice, not your voice. All right. So, and the other is the balance between description or dialogue, or whether you write one more than the other in your story. So do you balance between description and dialogue, or tend toward one or the other? There's no rule here. To whatever works, it's your preference, but just know how you write and keep it consistent. So you want to learn how your voice feels, and that's kind of hard for us, when we're writing and we're telling this story, but we really don't get a sense of how it feels to somebody else. So, as I said, there's no rules for author voice. It's how you tell your story. But to engage your reader, to make them feel satisfaction reading your story, you want to remain consistent. For example, with narration, choose a style, formal or colloquial. Jumping around is going to put off your reader. And the more you write, the better acquainted you'll be with your author voice. So one of the best ways to experience how your author voice feels is to read your story out loud. Does it flow? Is it staccato? Are your sentences long or short? Do you mix them up? Are your verbs active? Hearing your story told in your voice tells you how readers experience your writing. You can also do this with, there's lots of AI voices that will read text for you now, and that's another way to get a sense of your author voice. It's a great experiment to hear your story and hear how it feels to experience your story. I guess that's the best way to say it, is how your reader experience your story as it is told. So a lot of people talk about this theoretically, but I think it's important for us all as authors to know what our voice is and whether we're comfortable with it, and to know enough about it to know whether we want to continue on with that voice or whether we want to strengthen it with a wider vocabulary, for instance. It's up to you, but I think you need to be aware of your author voice. That's mainly what I wanted to say today. Goodness, I have the hiccups. Apologize. So you want to be aware of your author voice and know how your story feels. It's more than the characters. It's more than the plot. It's the way the story feels as your reader reads. Okay, so I hope that helps, and I hope you pay attention to that, because especially for beginning authors, it isn't mentioned very much, and I think it's important for us to know ourselves as authors and know how our author voice feels. So I'd like to thank Audible for sponsoring Write a Killer Mystery, and actually it's a great way to hear an author voice brought to life on Audible. And it's a great way to explore how stories feel. And if you don't have a subscription to Audible, you can start a 30-day free trial. The link is in the description below, and you can hear author voices. All right, great. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.